Schools, colleges, education. These topics are something which trouble any family when they move from one country to the other. When we moved from India to US, this was exactly what was troubling me and my wife. I've got a kid who is 6 years old. I did all my education in India. And when I moved to US, I'm not sure what kind of schools or what kind of education system they have, and whether my child's future is secured when we move to this new country. What I read was encouraging, but I went through Indian education system. I also heard a lot about the vigor what we have with Indian education system, and I was or am proud of it because I'm a product of it. But I'm not sure about the US education system, and hence we are doing today's podcast. And to help us solve these issues, to discuss on these issues, we have an expert, Adi.
I'm not an expert. Hi, guys.
Adi, tell me, why did I call you as the expert?
Because I grew up in India and I studied in India till 2005. So my 7th grade, first day of 8th grade, and then 2005. From then on till now, I've lived in the US. So my 8th, 9th, college, master's, it's all here. So I guess I know a little bit of both sides. So hence he's calling me the expert.
Okay, all right. No, that's good. So she's the expert, at least for me, because she has got understanding of both the systems and she does a great job over here. What do you do in your job?
So I'm an associate scientist. I'll be working for a small startup company called Fog Pharma, and I'm in assay development, so target engagement and stuff like that. So I got my master's in biotech from UMass Lowell, and I've been working in research for the last decade.
Perfect. So let's start today's podcast. Welcome to the House of Roys. Okay, so let me start with the first question that I have for you. You did education in both the countries, right? Which is better?
Personally speaking, I think I like the US system a little better than the Indian system. The Indian system has its pros, the US system has its pros, both has their cons. But I feel like I actually learned and understood and I developed a like for what I do more here than I would have done there. Because the reason being, in India, for instance, you are in a bio class, right? You learn biology when you're in like 5th or 7th or something grade, right? They will just give you the textbook, they will just read off of it, and then they'll say, mark this question, mark this paragraph of answer, you understand, you just memorize it, and then you go to the exam, you have to write it as is, or somewhat similar. You miss a few things, they'll take out a few points. But people actually understanding that concept for the sake of understanding it versus people just mugging it because they need that 95% or 100% to pass to the next grade. I think that is the more focus, at least as long as I was there in India, there versus here. It's not just about the grades. The teachers actually care that you understand it. Like, why is a certain topic. So for instance, in bio, like if I'm learning about the cell cycle, they will make sure I understand it, not just memorize it. They will make me say it in my own words because that means I understood it. But like in India, it is like mug and chug, mug and chug, mug and chug. So here is more like fundamental, like why, how. They try to ask us and answer it in our own words. And I really appreciate and I like that better because that means I actually understood my fundamentals. Another example. So my parents were so confident that they were like, oh yeah, my daughter too, like she learned algebra and everything in India and everything. And like when they came to my middle school and they went to my counselor, like, yeah, she'll pass that exam. She'll be in advanced algebra in 8th grade itself. And like, you know, Desi parents, right?
Yeah.
And long story short, I knew algebra. I learned algebra. But the subjects that they taught there were different from the algebra subjects here. But like there, I just went into quadratic equations, went into this. I didn't understand it.
Got it. Yeah.
Here, they asked it in many different ways, wherein I passed it, but I didn't pass it with enough grades to put me into advanced math in 8th grade.
Yeah.
But the reason, so after I started doing the math in the regular 8th grade math, I was like, oh, I learned this before, but I never knew that This was the technique, like say what you do on one side is what you do on other side. I did not make that connection. There you just do this, you solve for x, you put this here, you put this there, done. Like no, the math teacher didn't show me why the x was moved there. I just had to memorize that formula. So when I memorize and I do something, it's easier. But here in this country, in the test they ask, they teach you the basic concept, but you have to understand the basic concept and apply it. There I feel like that application part within the studies is not, so that's why I personally prefer that US system is bit better. But in terms of fundamentals, I don't think anything can beat Indian system. Like you learn so many fundamentals, like whatever I learned here in 8th or 7th or 6th, I learned all of that in a younger age at a much more rigor. Like physics and all comes only in 9th grade and onwards here in the US. I learned physics when I was in 6th grade. So that's the only difference. Like when you learn what is different, but how you learn it and how you apply it, how you understand it, I feel like US does it a little better. Western countries does it better.
Okay. Let me try to play a little bit of devil's advocate over here. Okay. And this is because I am biased.
Of course.
I did all my education in India, and when I come here, I don't find myself at any disadvantage as against anyone I'm interacting with or working with. And I'm not from forget about Ivy Leagues in India, but I am from simple school. I went to state board school in India, which is not supposed to be up to the mark as compared to CBSE or ICSE or the other boards. I went to a very normal average college, and I did my medicine in a government medical college, which is like any other government medical college. And when it comes to my fundamentals of medical science, and when I talk with the doctors over here, when I talk with physicians or my colleagues over here, not much of a difference, in the sense I don't find myself inferior at all. And that's not a superiority complex, by the way. I'm just trying to be I'm just trying to see what difference does the US system make in your or the US education system is making in you, so that you are better than as compared to when you come from India. And I understand your perspective. What you're saying is you don't learn the fundamentals in India, and in my
you do, you just don't get the chance to understand it.
You don't understand the basics. You just apply or solve problems without really understanding what's going on. And it might not be the case in my end, because I'm talking about medicine, where it's not mathematical science. It's absolutely what is real, right? So one of the counter that I have to what you're saying is a kind of chicken and egg sort of a thing. So I never learned what multiplication meant when I was a small kid. I used to rectify. 2 1 2 2 is 4. I do not know what the hell that means. Okay, and then it went on for I think till 2nd grade or 3rd grade. I have no idea what multiplication means. And then over a period of time, you understand what multiplication means. All right. Right now, you give me a long number,
you'll do it like this,
and I can do it. I understand what it means, and I can do a mental math as well. I understand the concepts now. Okay. So initially, no, I didn't know that, but eventually I understood the concept, right? But the initial rigor of mugging up everything, that helped. So tell me if I'm going wrong in terms of my argument.
So that really, that really does help. So I think like your perspective is based as an adult, right? Like you finished everything there.
Exactly.
You came in here as an adult. So at that point, whatever you learned as your younger age doesn't matter, because your profession is medicine, right? At a certain point, medicine is the same here and in the US. But up until you get to that point is what I've experienced. So I can like talk for a 3rd grader, I can talk for a 4th grader, I can talk for a 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 12th. So what you're saying is not wrong. Like I understand your argument. That at a point you just mugged and chugged, and that really helped you, even though you understood the math concept. But imagine a kid like me, or even your son's age. They are studying in India for as long as they are. So he's 6 years old, right?
Yeah.
He comes here. He's going to be the smartest kid on this school, because he's going to know his multiplications. He's going to know everything. But if his teacher asks him a question that deviates from what he's learned, as in like apply that concept to something else, he's gonna have an issue.
Yeah.
So that is what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying this is bad, that is good, I'm just saying that where we lack, where these guys fill in the gap. So
Right.
I feel like I got the best of both worlds, because I got the best foundation that I could ever ask for. And then like there were 3 teachers in 8th grade that really helped me like solidify my wish to want to go into research. And one of them was actually my math teacher. Like I despised math till I came to this country. Like I literally used to cry if I had to write a math sum out. Like I'd call my dad up. Like I lived in India, my parents were in the US. So it would be like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. My grandparents would not be home, my aunt would not be home, and I really needed help solving X. I was like, I need to know what X is because I have an exam tomorrow. I call my dad up. My dad freaks out. He's like, is everything okay? Grandpa, okay. Are you okay? I was like, Papa, I need to know how to solve for X. And he's laughing on the other side. But like, if I had known that the why I did it, then it would make sense. Because at that point, the teacher just said, write this, write that. This is the example problem. This is how you solve all the problems. And I'm like, huh? Okay. So that's what I'm trying to say. So as an adult, we don't see the difference because the difference is all felt from throughout.
Sure.
So when you're matriculated and I'm matriculated and I go into the workforce, doesn't matter what my fundamentals were. And what matters at that point is what I know and what you know, which is going to be the similar or the same. When you are in college, because at that point you would have already known your fundamentals and you would have had to apply it. But when you are in a younger age, it really does make an impact, whether it's significant for some people, insignificant for other people. It was pretty 50-50 for me, in the sense that there were certain aspects where it was kind of like, okay, I need to switch out of my Indian schooling mindset and come here.
Got it.
So that's what I mean.
Fair.
Yeah.
No, I get it. I get what you're saying. And I would like to contradict myself on some points. Okay. So I hated maths. All right. And that's really big. And I loved physics, by the way.
But physics is math. Okay.
Exactly. Yes. I loved physics and I hated maths. And that's because
that's a cognitive dissonance right there.
I agree. And that's exactly because of the point that you're making, that in math, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. X, what is X? What is this problem? What does it mean in real life? Okay. When it came to physics, I actually was a part of an astronomy club. Okay. And they would actually talk about Newtonian theories and Galilean theories and correlate with Einsteinian theories.
Ooh, wow.
And it was beautiful. I mean,
because it's like, finally light bulb, eureka, it went off.
Exactly. I mean, it made sense. All the physical laws that made sense to me. So I was in 6th grade, I remember. And we were not supposed to know quantum mechanics at that point in time. I used to read The Brief History of Time just because of this.
Right.
But I hated math. Because I didn't understand what the hell that.
Like, why do I need to know a square plus b square equals this?
Okay, I'll tell you what. After I completed my medicine or whatever, I practiced. Then I moved to industry, and then I realized that, you know what, let me enjoy a hostel life again. So I gave my GMAT. I got into ISB Hyderabad. Did my full-time MBA from there.
Oh no! Okay.
The first class.
Economics, right?
Yes, you got it. Microeconomics.
I hate micro.
I entered. She's like dy by dx, and what is
this? Am I in calculus again?
And because
derivatives, right? Yeah.
Yeah, derivatives. And by the time I grew, I knew what multiplication meant, but I never knew what derivative meant. Okay. Unfortunately, my roommates were from IITs and all, and one of the guy was CA. So those guys,
they must have known all of this.
Absolutely,
right? Yeah,
they
that's
knew
their life.
everything.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they taught me a lot of things. I learned over a period of time what it means, but I get what you're saying. Students will hate these important topics if they do not understand the relevance of it.
No, not just the relevance, more of like, because in like for instance, like there were so many points where they just gave me a model example, right? So here what they do is simple algebra, right? 2x plus 3 equals, I cannot do that.
2x plus 3 is equal to 5.
5.
Yeah.
Okay, right? Equals 5. What they will say, like the way they will explain it, they will be like, why am I moving the 3?
Correct.
If I move the 3 here, if I want to cancel the 3 out, I have to do a minus 3 here.
Correct.
What you do on one side, you have to
To
do
do it
on the
on the
same
other
side.
side,
So
yeah.
they say it like that. But in India, they were like 2x plus 3 equals 5 minus 3. They wouldn't even say minus 3 here. They'll just say 2x equals 5 minus 3. X equals 5 minus 3 divided by 2. Okay, you got it? Okay, this is how you start everything else go. And I'm like, okay, why did you go? Why did 3 go there? Why did 3 just not stay here? So those were my questions. Like when my dad helped me out over the phone, it made sense.
Fair,
Like,
yeah.
Because my dad was like, what you do on one side is what you do on the other side. But he didn't do that. Like my dad loves math. He's an anomaly.
Sure, yeah.
So for him, it came naturally, and he was tutoring a few students at that point in the US. So I guess he picked up on how to talk to them, and so that's what he told me. But this is just one example. Imagine if like somebody puts up a quadratic equation, and you're like, so I just memorized this, and trigonometry is my Achilles. It's like sine 90
Sine 90
is
is,
sine theta is this
yeah.
over that, cosine theta is this over that, and I'm like, why do I care? Like,
Yeah, same.
why do I care? Like, why do I want to
Sine
know
by cos
sine?
is tan. What
Yeah,
is tan? What is
I
sine?
am
What
tan,
is cos? Agreed. Yeah.
So math is just an example. Like, I mean, like for instance, yes, we are using math in our field. It's not like we're not using math in our field. We're scientists. We need to do math. But we don't use calculus. We don't use derivatives, right? We don't need to find area under a curve.
Sure.
Right? Those aspects apply to other fields. So you are learning those things. I'm not saying no to not learning those things. But when you're learning them, in addition to knowing how and why it applies to real life, if you understand why A is being moved from here to there, that makes a huge difference, because I only get 4 sets of modeling questions, right? 4 sets of examples. Based on that 4 sets of examples, I'm supposed to answer 10 million other examples in my homework. If I understand this, then it's easy for me to apply there. I'm not saying I'm going to be able to apply and solve everything.
Got it.
But so it's same thing, right? When we do genetics, we have so many ways that we can derive why a chromosomal mutation happens. It's either by distance, or it's either by swapping, or a point mutation, and you can find the distance between 2 genes. But why? How? Like if you get that, then you're able to apply it,
Absolutely.
right? There are certain things where you cannot ask why. Programming, over my head,
Yeah.
but you cannot ask why because it's a language, it's a rule, it's a logic. It just, you want to ask why, you got to go ask that guy who's in a grave who probably invented that. Like, why is gravity? I have to go talk to Newton for this. I'm like, screw you, Newton.
No, I agree. There are certain questions you just can't ask. Like the famous quote in India, why DO is do and GO is go.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, certain things you never get the question, but what I really appreciate here, which is why I fell in love with math. Like, I'm not saying I'm a math fiend, but I did not despise it throughout college, and I survived it because I needed it for my degree and stuff like that, because it was a core requirement. But I did not despise it because that 8th grade teacher made a huge difference.
Awesome.
You get those fractions, right? Like 5 1 by 3 times 2 1 by 3. In India, you do it in a long way.
Yeah.
Here, he showed me a shortcut. And I'm like, oh, it's easy. And I know why you did it.
Yeah,
and he
that's
explained
important.
why he did
Yeah.
it. Mr. Hatfield, shout out if you're watching this. That's my 8th grade teacher's name.
Awesome. So, I think to summarize this segment of today's discussion is that the US system, at least to me now, seems to be better than the Indian system in terms of these critical subjects like maths, physics, etc. Where in India, they will ask you to simply mug up things and not understand the basics. Whereas here, they start with the basics.
Yes.
So you fall in love with that particular subject. And I've been telling in lot of forums that to excel in anything, whether studies or work, you first need to love it.
Yep.
And that love cannot be artificial. It has to be natural. So if you understand how math problems are being applied, what's the logic,
Yes.
you will eventually fall in love with it, because it's a beautiful subject,
Yes.
except that some teachers don't teach it in a beautiful way.
It really, again, depends on the teacher. Maybe if I had a better teacher in India, I would have fallen in love with it. But on the contrary, so here, like I will contradict myself at this point. So there are certain aspects when Indian system is better than the US, wherein, for instance, handwriting. Here, nobody has any regard for handwriting.
Sure.
They're like, oh, why do I have to pressure the kid? But in India, you have that whole specific handwriting class, right? Nobody here knows cursive. Like, no, my brother still writes like a 3-year-old. Sorry, Abhi. Sorry, Abhi. I hope you don't watch this. My brother still kind of writes like a 3-year-old. I go to my workplace and I write something in cursive. Everybody's like, you know cursive?
You know cursive?
It's like ancient. Nobody writes in cursive anymore. And I'm like, if I didn't write like this, my mom would kill me. Like I grew up in a strict Indian household.
Yeah.
Like if my handwriting was bad, like the desi moms, right?
Absolutely.
So it's you don't write well, which means you don't do well in school, which means you don't do well in college, which means you don't do well in life. I'm like, Mama, I just did not write one thing. How did writing go to my life?
Butterfly effect, they say.
So like they drill it in you, and I like that aspect of our system wherein yes, our fundamentals are very strong whether we understand them or not. Like as a kid I came in with really strong grammar in 8th grade. Of course, as I assimilated, my grammar went down, which is okay, but I like the grammar I learned. I spoke in very proper English, I wrote with proper grammar. My teachers were all like, they were in love with me. Like the only thing missing was those hearts coming out of their eyes. They were like, your grammar is so good. Oh, this is so good. Oh, your dad. I was like, yeah, because grammar is a subject. Like we learn past tense, present, future, and all of that. Here they don't teach that. Like here they don't teach exactly like they teach you past tense, but not with the same intensity.
Got it. Yeah.
Unless you unless you take special more courses for that in high school. Like basic courses is just regular English. Here they make you read like classics, Shakespeare or some weird cult novels, and then understand the concept and the symbolism and things like that. But more in the sense of they'll teach you past, present, future, they, their, you, yours, all of that. But like in India, right, like we have to like near past or future past. So, like there's so many those things,
nuances,
and those nuances are all in books here. I'm not saying they aren't. So when you start majoring in English in college and you want to write a proper essay to win a Pulitzer, that's when those things come into play. 8th grade, 9th grade, they just teach you the basics. So like I said, both have pros and cons, but overall in terms of understanding, I feel like these guys do it better. But again, I know there are different facets, right? Like state board, CBSE, and all of that. So I don't know how CBSE differs from state board. I think I was state board. I went to Holy Angels, so I'm not entirely sure. But maybe like I see that my cousin, she went to Vidyo, and I think she was in CBSE. She still mugged and chugged, but there were times when I observed her, and I don't know if it was her own effort or if it is because of the school, that she was trying to understand why certain things function that way. Like she would, especially when it came to science topics, she'd come and ask me naturally, but even in maths, I saw her trying to understand. She's majoring in accounting now, so I guess that's why she got her whole interest in trying to understand. But maybe you will be a better person to talk about those two, because I don't know. I only know that they exist.
No, honestly, even I'm a wrong person, because I did all my education in state board, and I just knew that we were inferior,
right? Of course, yeah,
to the CBSE, ICSE, or the IB boards, and I honestly disagree on that. Except the part that when I was in the 12th grade in India, I knew that a lot of the people I knew from CBSE board, they knew much more than me. And that's because they were learning things beyond what my state board textbooks had. So when I was preparing for my medical school, the entrance exam, I actually started studying FIBSE and SYBSE books so that I can get ahead of them. And it did help me get through the entrance exams. But that brings me to the other part. In India, you see, there is no standardization then. It depends on which college you go or where you are, you will be going through either state board or CBSE or ICSE, right? Do you have such kind of disparities in US as well?
In terms of like what types of school
Yeah,
you
like
go to?
like the disparities of board what we have in India. Do you have similar disparities over here, or is it standardized?
So there is, so the curriculum is general. Like I think each state has its own requirements. So at a national level, you have a requirement. You need to meet this certain level for reading, this certain level for math, this certain level for science, and overall there is a need for, by this age kids should have known these subjects, by this age kids should have known these concepts. So there is a national level across all states. So within that, and within each state, them choosing to focus on certain topics or getting rid of certain topics or proceeding it in a certain way, it's up to the state. So the biggest area where this plays into effect is English and history. I mean, that is a completely different topic for another time.
I know, yeah, what you're referring to.
But overall, like different regions of the US portray history in a different manner.
Sure.
But math, science, government education, history, those all fall under the similar umbrella of what the nation needs in order to maintain that national average of literacy. So we have a statewide standardized test where everybody has to take it. I think it's either once a year or once in 2 years. Again, it depends on the state. When I did my 8th through 12th, I was in Iowa. So we had what we call ITBS, Iowa Test of Basic Skills or something like that. And it was every year. So every grade I was supposed to take it. And that is just to show if that particular school district where the kids are taking it, if they are up to par with the national, with the state, and if they are not, what does the state or that district needs to do to improve that. So that is basically to determine if the state is doing well, if the school district is doing well, if it needs more money, or if it needs more teachers to help out to build the system up, or like where to place it or where to rank the school system. So Massachusetts has the same thing, MCAS or something like that. I think it's once in every 2 years. All grades take it from yay big to yay big. They take it, and again, it's to assess the school, to see how the school is doing. If it does really well, it goes into that blue ribbon top 10 school within the state, and then to assess how the school district is doing, to assess how the state is doing compared to the national. But yes, there isn't something like a state board or a central board or any of that sort. There is just a national requirement of what level each grade person should be in to meet that literacy requirement.
Okay.
And within that, the teachers choosing how to teach it is up to the state. So like the government doesn't force a lot of things up on the state. The state has its own autonomy to make the subjects, to add extra or not add extra.
So there is something called as a minimum requirement that everybody has to meet or try to meet.
Yep.
Okay. So all these tests are trying to see whether you are meeting those requirements or not.
Yep.
Got it. So there is some level of standardization at least over there in terms of what minimum every school should start meeting.
Yes. And those tests within each school those tests play two roles. At least it did when I was in school, in my school back in Franklin and Kennedy in Iowa. Those standardized tests, if you do at a certain percentile, it qualifies you within that school for an honors club, where you get more exposure, more opportunity. So I can be in like something called a future cities club, where I can like use my creativity and build like futuristic looking cities and go to like national level competitions and like participate. I learn like speaking, leadership, all of that. Or I can be in a academic decathlon. Basically, I'll be a nerd studying whole lot of subjects and taking exams. That's what an academic 10 subjects decathlon. Or I could be in a math club, or I can be in a writing club, or like certain clubs. But those are only for kids who pass a certain level. Some people call it discrimination. Some people say people are bad at standardized tests, but they might be really good at that and you should do it. But I think it might not be there now. Maybe they have a holistic approach to how they choose what type of students go into there. I God hope that's the case. But generally speaking, that's how it was chosen when I was still in school. So you do 90th percentile and above, you get to go to the PACT program. That's what they called it, the honors program. And there you get more exposure. Like you can either choose to go into certain honor classes for certain subjects, or you get to do these extracurricular activities and things like that. So I think mass schools have something similar. You meet that certain requirement. And the reason being, they use that test as like an assessment of your mental capacity, right? So they're saying, okay, in that standardized test, you do well, which means you must be a brilliant person, which means you can be challenged in those types of things. We can put you in honors classes because then you'll be challenged more, because a regular level is not challenging enough for you. So it is multifaceted as in why they choose a kid to go there and there, but it's dependent on these standardized tests.
Sure. I think the other aspect of this is that if you are into the honors club, it means that you have bandwidth of doing beyond your regular studies. And if you're not in the honors club, it means that you're not meeting those standards, which means you need to study. First focus on the study. All right, let's get there. It's like my dad used to tell, first study and then you can go and play.
Right.
That's something like that. Okay, great. So what you're saying is what I understand is that the education looks kind of standardized, and I realize that even the teachers are kind of standardized as compared to India. I'll give you an example. In India, it's great if you have a teacher's training. Okay, it's great that if you have got a B.Ed or an M.Ed. Not necessary. You can skip that.
Right.
There are ways and means of skipping it.
Right, that's true. Yeah.
You can go to some open university, give exam. There are a lot of these private schools as well, give money and get the degree.
Or if you know a friend who knows a friend.
Or there are some schools, private schools especially, who are like, I don't care about your degree. You have got 10 years of experience, you're going to work for lesser money, alright, come.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
But here I see quite differently, in the sense my wife was teaching in India, and she loves being with small kids. She is very great at teaching small kids. So when she shifted here, she wasn't allowed to join any school. Okay, they told her that you need to get MTEL.
The teaching certification.
Some teaching certification. They have an online portal where you actually put what your credentials are, what credits you have taken. So she actually joined a specialized college for Montessori training. And that's how she got her current job in Burlington Montessori. But I found it to be quite nice because then you know that the teachers at least meet some form of standard.
Right.
But I wanted to learn from you. I mean, when you must have had a lot of teachers, right? Were these teachers significantly different from each other in terms of the value they provided to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Similar. I mean, not significant. Some were very significant in terms of the value they provided to me. Others were like borderline average. There were some that were just there, like they were cool cats.
Okay.
Like I said, Mr. Hatfield, my 8th grade teacher, he loved what he did. Like you could just see the passion every single day when he walked in.
Nice.
Like he knew that was what he wanted to do, and like he was very friendly. He was very patient. There was no point in I've seen him mad. Like, I'm an easy student. There were some that were pretty difficult, mind you. And he was still like, happy and like calm. Like, I've never seen him mad even outside of school. So, I don't know if I'm answering your question right or not, but yeah, there were a lot of teachers who had a really significant impact for me, drove me to the path I am today. And maybe it's because those teacher training kind of like weeded them out, like I feel like having that degree, because you go through that degree because you want to be a teacher.
Sure, yeah.
And I think that is very important. Yeah, there were certain teachers who were just like, I'm done. The school doesn't pay me enough. And that's not because the students were bad. Mostly some teachers who are just frustrated or things like that, it's mostly because of the system. Like they're not getting enough support from the system. They're not getting enough support by the state, by the superintendent to do what they want to do. Or, teachers are pretty abused,
I'm sure, yeah.
They have to come in on the weekends, they have to stay late, they have to come early, they have to make lesson plans, yet they're still not paid enough.
I know.
I mean, like, it's a different story again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had a lot of significantly impactful teachers who are different from each other, not just in their learning style, but also in the way they imbue the motivation to students. Some are pretty new who come in and they just don't know, and they're like very friendly, and then they learn. But whoever I've had thus far, they're pretty experienced in that they know, like, they've had their required training, they know how to interact with students, they know where to draw the line, and how to get the students to be the best as much as possible. And if they're not at their best, for Mr. Odell, my AP history teacher, I think he's like a really good example, because our class, for that AP class, it was pretty diverse in terms of skill set. There were a few of us where we did not need much help. He realized that, so he would give us more work. Like, he made it diverse, but at the same time, the readout was the same. Like, if that makes any sense.
Sure, yeah,
like,
yeah.
he will give more attention to certain students and, like, coach them more, or, like, encourage them to be more vocal in class, or give them more attention. And just to make sure, like, some of us, I think one of us went up to him and she questioned him. She's like, oh, you're not, giving much attention to us. Why is that? Like, are we not important? This and that. And he's like, and then he pulled us all over. He's like, you guys are the top 10% of the class. You guys should be able to assist other people. This is your chance to learn your leadership skill, to learn if you want to be a teacher, or you should put in the initiative to help others who needs, like, so, like, he talked to us, he explained that we were doing really well, that we didn't need an extra challenge, and that we should be more involved in class. So, like, there were teachers like that. And I think mostly it goes to the fact that you go through school, because, I mean, you don't go through X years of teacher training just because you want a paycheck, right?
No.
So, like, you can do other things and not put yourself through that. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
No, that brings me to the other part of the discussion, that how do you know that a student needs more help, or how do you know that this student should go into the honors club? So, for example, in India, every 6 months there would be an exam.
Right.
And then finally there is this exam which tells you whether you can go from grade 1 to grade 2, or grade 2 to grade 3, and things like that. And then at the end, at least for us at the 10th grade, the exam was very critical, because then it would decide whether we would go to science.
Set in stone.
Yep, your career, your future would get decided at that point in time, whether you are going towards science or arts or commerce, right? How does it work over here? How are you assessed, and how do you exactly make these choices?
So we don't have anything set in stone like that. You can change your major even when you're in college.
Awesome.
Like, say you started your bachelor's in college and you were halfway through your bachelor's and you're like, I don't want pre-med, I want to study philosophy. Fine, change it, go on. Maybe you have to add an extra year to your graduating timeline, but it's still possible. Nothing is set in stone here.
Got it.
So that's the good thing. What was the other part of the question?
So nothing is set in stone. How you're assessed?
Okay. So the way you are assessed here is not just through your grades and your exams, but also through your class participation.
Okay.
The teachers, good ones, mind you, not the average, below average ones, but all of who I've had are good ones. So you are assessed by the way you talk in class, by the way you participate in class, by the way you do your regular homework assignments. So we have weekly homework assignments, we have pop quizzes, we have midterms, we have finals. I mean, again, these are all only from 9th grade onwards. Up until 8th grade, you probably have some exams, pop quizzes, but mostly assignments, nothing major. And when you're in your elementary school, which is like 1 through 5, 6, it's mostly homework assignments and things like that. No final exams or anything of that sort for them. But throughout, in any grade, it depends on how you do your assignment. It depends on how you interact with the teachers, how you interact with your peers, what sort of communication skills you have. So it's a holistic approach. So not just your grades. Because if it was just my grades, I wouldn't have gotten a lot of the opportunities that I was provided with in 8th or 9th. coming from India to here, I was not a very good standardized test taker. So even though I did decent, I never met the bar to go into those packed or honors program. But my teachers personally recommended me for them because they were like, I think it's unfair to assess Adi on just that one exam because she excels like every single day in class to the point where we are scratching our heads how to help her out. So I think like they personally, so I was in those programs, but not because of those standardized tests, but because my teachers personally recommended me. So yeah, they pay attention. Like you're there, we do assignments for a reason. There are in-class participations for a reason. These all show the teachers how well you are grasping the subject, how well you are paying attention, how well you're interacting, like what sort of social caliber you have or what sort of challenge you need and things like that. So that's how you're assessed. And that is throughout. When you're in your high school, so 9 through 12, and you're trying to decide which direction you want to go to, you have a guidance counselor. So every kid with a certain last name range, it's like alphabet A through D, you get one guidance counselor. They break up the alphabet, each guidance counselor is there. So that guidance counselor will walk you through what your next 4 years in high school is going to be like, will help you decide what sorts of extracurriculars you would want to go into, again, based on whatever you tell them and whatever they observe with you. Like, it's not like the guidance counselor is going to follow you around every day, but they get feedback from the teachers, right? They see your grades, they see how you do, they see what sorts of programs you're interested in or leaning towards. And schools have walls. You talk the walls, go tell the guidance counselor too. So with everything, they try to decide. They help you decide. They'll be like, okay, so it looks like you're really good in math. So maybe try to take a engineering line, or maybe you can just major in math and then figure out if you want to be a teacher or if you want to be a professor or like whatever, meteorologist, like applications of math, careers that have mathematical applications, right? So the guidance counselor talks to you, and the guidance counselor will talk to you a lot more from 11 and 12, because in 11th grade you're supposed to take those standardized tests, ACT or SAT. Those are your standard college entrance exam test. Okay. And then in 12th grade you have to start applying. You'll have something called a common application, which will open up in September, and through that common application portal you'll have access to all the universities in the US, including community colleges and things like that, and then you apply that. But 10, 11 and 12 is pretty crucial. So from 10 they'll start priming you. They're like, so what do you want to do? Have you decided? What do you think you want to major in? You can go undecided into college. You can be completely undecided, but the college will kind of force you to decide a major in your second year of college, what they call sophomore year. So maybe I should give the terminology.
Give that terminology.
Yes. Okay. So in India, it's like LKG, UKG, first, second, third, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So all of them are in one school,
yes,
or you split it up, right? And then I think these days they have a preschool day care option in India. Not when I was growing up.
I didn't go to a preschool.
Yeah. So here, from about 3 months till about the age you are required to go to public school, you are in daycare. The daycare can be, mostly it's going to be private. Getting a public daycare, you have to go through a lottery system and you have to be below a certain income level to get the public, because those are subsidized by the state and it's very cheap. But you will be in daycare. So what is this? 3 months from they're born, from 3 months to 5 years, 5 or 6, give or take. Depends on the state and depends on when your birthday is. And then first grade through 5th grade or 6th grade, again depending on the state, it's called elementary. And then 6th or 7th through 8th grade, again depending on the state, it's middle school.
Okay.
And then 9th through 12 is high school. In high school, 9th grade is called freshman. Fresh year.
Okay.
Like freshers, right? You're just, high school is a big deal. And then 10th grade, it's called sophomore.
Okay.
11th grade, it's called junior. 12th grade, it's called senior. So freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Those 4 are high school.
And same goes in the college as well?
Same goes in the college. First year freshman, second year sophomore, third year junior, 4th year senior.
Nice.
And 5th year you're super senior.
Got it.
After 9 through 12 it's high school, and then the first 4 years of your college, it's called undergrad.
Sure.
Undergraduate. And then anything onwards is postgrad.
Postgraduate.
So it could be master's or PhD or med school or law school or God knows what school. So this is how it's structured here in the US. These are the naming conventions and how it's structured. And unlike in India, 10th grade is important, but in India, 10th you decide and you have to set in stone. Here you decide and it's very fluid and it's more of an evolution, and they kind of force you to set it in stone when you're in your second grade of college or second year of college.
Yeah.
You can still change beyond that, but you'll have to give a valid reason as to why you're changing. And after, the college is still not going to stop you from changing. They'll just say you need to add 2 more extra years because you might not have met the core requirements.
Got it.
Right?
Got it.
So when you're 10th grade and onwards, right, in India, you choose science, all you'll be taking is science subjects. You won't take any other subjects, right? But here, 9 through 12, you are required to take every subject. You have to supposed to take something from science, something from math, something from arts, something from government, something from politics, or something from education or ethics or language. Like language is a must for 4 years. Like so, I don't know if there is a graduation requirement in India, but here for high school and for college, there are graduation requirements.
Sure.
Like you need X amount of credits from outside your major. So, for example, in your 4-year undergrad, if I was a bio major. And besides my bio major courses, I was supposed to take X amount of credits from English, X amount of credits from engineering, or X amount of, like, the school will give you the guidelines. Like you're supposed to satisfy the ethics requirement, you're supposed to satisfy the diversity requirement, supposed to satisfy English writing requirement. So it's not just your major, they make you take things outside of your major too.
So if you're good in sports, can those add to credits?
If you're good in sports in high school, it will get you a scholarship to college.
Okay.
So say you are like very stellar, like you are, everybody wants you on their national team, like that wala level, you will be going into a Division 1 school, as what we call it, college, Division 1 college.
What are these divisions?
There is Division 1, which is like the most popular, most funded, everybody watches it. So like Ohio State, Alabama, UConn, those are all Division 1 schools, Big Ten schools, basically. That's what school as in college. I call them schools, sorry. Colleges. And if you can go to the sports quota per se. You'll get full ride to that school because of your sport. You just need to maintain a certain grade point average in your studies. Like you're supposed to study, but you'll get into that school through the sports quota because they will be scouting for you, and the school wants you because you're going to add extra fame to that school, right? By being on their football team or basketball team or rowing team or hockey team or whatever. Like BC has a really good Division 1 hockey team. UMass Lowell's hockey team just became, or not just, I should say, they became Division 1 when I was matriculating there, which was between 2014 and 2015, and they scout for the top players to join their team. And beyond college, they go into national, so NFL and NHL, NBA, WNBA.
Is there an advantage of being in a Division 1 college as compared to the other colleges?
For the sake of sports, yeah, because you get more popularity, more visibility. But in the sake of education, I think they're all the same. It's just the hype behind Division 1 schools. Like because they're either Division 1 or what they call party schools. They're going to party anyway.
You're talking about the colleges, no? After
Yeah. This is all colleges after 12.
Undergrad. Okay.
Yes.
And so when you go for the postgrad, which college you went to, does it matter?
Again, it depends on where you are applying to.
So let's say let's say one of the Ivy Leagues, do they check whether you came from Division 1 school or something? Technically,
they shouldn't. But
they do.
Theoretically speaking, name does matter, I feel. Yeah, they do. I would want to strongly believe that is not the only factor that matters when somebody gives you an acceptance or looks at your application. But to an extent, name kind of does matter. I mean, it never really mattered to me too much beyond college because like I went to UMass Lowell, but I worked at Harvard Med. Like if name mattered, I don't think I would have gotten that job. Yeah. But after Harvard Med, that name got me places. Like all the other subsequent jobs I have gotten in the time I've gotten, it's because of that and another school that I worked.
So the name matters truly from the post-grad period. Yeah,
kind of, sort of, yes. If you went to UMass, if you went to Notre Dame, so there are 2 applicants. Say you and I were on the interview panel. We get 2 resumes. One is from I don't know, Grinnell University. That is a college. That is a university in Iowa. Another one is from Notre Dame. I'm gonna look at the Notre Dame first compared to Grinnell because I know Notre Dame more than I know Grinnell. And I mean that is my personal bias, but the personal bias is always there. I mean, I would look at this first, but I would still take a look at it. At the end of the day, I will assess who is better. But sometimes, depending on who is there, who is looking at it, so the name does kind of matter a little bit. Again, there could be opposing viewpoints to this, but this is just my personal opinion and my personal experience.
Okay. For the audience sake, tell me if you are not in Division 1 college. Okay.
Like when okay. Yeah, got it.
One of the student is not in Division 1 college and he wants to now go for the Ivy Leagues for the postgrad. Is there some secret mentor or something?
No. Okay, so I think maybe I should clarify this about Division 1 college. So Division 1 essentially applies only to sports. So it doesn't rank the college.
Okay.
So
is there a rank to college then? That's the question.
Yes. So Ivy League is probably the topmost rank.
But that's the postgraduate one, no?
The Ivy League is for undergrad too.
Oh,
you can go to. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
any colleges in the US, you can go both your 4-year undergrad and postgrad. So it doesn't matter. Harvard still has undergrad. Harvard still has postgrad. Yes. MIT still has undergrad. MIT still has postgrad. Everybody has undergrad. Everybody has postgrad. Everybody has certification courses. Everything. Like colleges want money, man. They're gonna have offer everything.
One question. So if you did your undergrad from Howard, is it easier then to get into postgrad in Howard, or is it a level playing field for everyone when you start applying for the postgrad?
I think they give you a little bit more preference, but if you are going internally, like if you have an option to switch from your undergrad to PhD and like you know your advisor and the advisor says, okay, come on, I'll take you on. It's easy. You bypass majority of the application process and you just go join that lab. You know because that professor wants you because they worked with you. But they make it as level playing field as possible. So say you are within Harvard and you want to go within Harvard for your master's or PhD, you still have to go through the general application process. You'll just probably have a slight leg up because you were matriculated there. You can matriculate within Harvard University, or you can go to Harvard Medical School, or you can go to that interdepartmental program between Harvard and MIT. You'll still have to go through that application process, but I guess they might have an extra tag. Like for me, I did my bachelor's at UMass Lowell. I still had to go through the regular application, but for my master's, after my bachelor's, but since the department knew me, they were like, okay, yeah, Ari, you're good. I think they even out the play. I wouldn't say even out, there will be a bias because like I just gave you my example, like they said, oh, it's our student, go, right, for the +1, as opposed to somebody outside applying for a +1 program would have to, it's a bit more rigorous. But yeah, I mean, they try to make it as fair as possible. Come on, let's face it, it's easy. So the reason I know this firsthand is because I had a set of friends who are doing their PhD at Penn State in the comp sci department when I was living there. And boy, oh boy, it's like, they would be like, oh, Professor so-and-so, I have a friend who has applied, who's interested in joining your lab. Can I bump up the application for you? They would have applied like a regular person. But if the X amount of students in the lab vouch for you, that PI is going to be like, okay, let's go, let's see this. And then they're personally going to say, okay, bring this person onto the admissions. Yeah, so this whole pushing applications thing, it happens everywhere, and I think it happens more where they see people are studying. And so the pushing applications doesn't really happen for that, as far as I know of, for bachelors, but I've seen it more for masters and PhD. So in that one department at Penn State, oh my God, like every day there would be 4 different people who are pushing applications because those students, sometimes those applications are for friends, and other times these people know whom to reach out in that pre-existing current student pool. They'll be like, I am so and so. I've applied to this department, and I would really like to work with this professor. Can you help me out? I'm available at this time for talking, and if you think that I'll be a good fit, can you help put in a word of recommendation? And of course, these are senior PhD students. I was a PI, and if my student tells me this is a good person, let's take that person on, it'll be good for the lab, I'm not going to say twice.
Yeah.
Because at that PhD and the relationship between a PhD advisor and a student is like a parent and a kid, right? You've got to trust them. They're with you for the next 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
So this application pushing, preference, all happens. My personal opinion, my personal view is that the whole there is this general application, everybody apply, we all treat you fairly. It's there. I think it's just to satisfy a requirement. But at the end of the day, you go to a certain school, you're within that school, you're applying to within that school, you're going to get a slightly higher preference than from somebody who's outside who's going to apply.
Sure.
And if you know somebody in the admissions department, you know the professor you want to work and you have a good relationship with them, or you know the students working there. So this is all for postgraduate, whatever I'm just saying right now. You are going to get a little bit more preferential treatment in terms of your application for sure being looked at and considered. So it doesn't mean it's a guaranteed admit. The PI still needs to like that person, and the department head should still like that person, but the chances of it happening is higher. And I am not trying to sound racist here, but Desi people do it far more than any other groups. Desi and Asians do it a little bit higher.
That's much jugaad. Come on, we do it all the time. Yeah.
Than like regular.
Absolutely. It's, that's how we do. Anyways, so what I understood was that then if you are moving from undergrad to postgrad, there is no entrance exam. You just need to. There is?
Depending on the field, but go on.
So what I gathered was, and I think my assumption is incorrect, is that you just apply. There is an application. You fill up the forms, fill up the essays or whatever. Yep. And that's it. Or is there an entrance exam?
Okay, so I can answer that. Before there used to be a GRE. I'm sure you know about it. Now GRE still is there. That is like the general entrance exam for any master's program. But a lot of schools have not dismantled their requirement of a GRE.
Post-COVID.
For pre-COVID too.
Oh, pre-COVID too?
Yes.
Oh, I thought
it's not, no. It was pre-COVID. Like I was so happy to have to apply to so many PhD programs that I would not have otherwise applied because they took away the GRE requirement.
So even for US citizens, you have to give GRE if the school mandates it?
Yes. Okay. So for internationals, it's GRE plus TOEFL plus a few other English literacy exams.
Some colleges accept GMAT as well.
Yeah. So after your 4 years of undergrad, for which you have a standardized entrance exam called ACT or SAT, which you take in your 11th or 12th grade. Those scores are valid for 1 to 2 years. So you can take it in 11th grade and use it for 12th grade, or you can take it in 12th grade as well. So you take that to apply for 4 years of undergrad. In addition, so that score, in addition to your grades, in addition to your extracurricular activities, will be weighed for making a decision for any school to accept or decline you. So that's 12th to undergrad. So undergrad to postgrad, they used to have the GRE requirement, but it has been dissolved for a X amount of programs in X amount of schools. Again, I do not know the exact list because I haven't looked into it, but a lot more schools are being more lenient with their GRE scores, because certain schools were like, if your GRE is not above this, I am not even going to look at your application, don't even consider applying here. But I think a little bit schools are being a bit more lenient. So GRE is for general. And I think you have GMAT for MBA, LSAT for law school, MCAT for medical school. I forgot DSATs or DMATs or something like that for dental school. So those standardized tests are there for.
So those are there. Those have not gone out.
No. Oh my God! If MCAT was not there, I'd be applying to medical school right now. Oh my goodness! I mean, not that I want to. I could have. I did go through that track, but I realized after doing some rotations at hospitals that med school was not for me.
Sure.
For shits and giggles, if MCAT was not there, you know who's gonna be applying first? Me. No, but they do have those. Certain schools for certain master's or PhD programs, they might ask those subject tests. So GRE has subject tests.
Sure.
So they might not ask for the main GREs. They might say, okay, you're applying to the biochem program at Harvard. We don't require general GRE, but we require you to take the subject test for bio, the subject test for chemistry, the subject test for this. So they will do that. And I think accounting has an exam, but I don't think you need to write that exam to go into accounting. I think you need to write that. Yeah, that exam is after to get the certification. I think it's called CPA in India, or no, it's called CA in India, Chartered Accountant. Here in the US, it's called Certified Public Accountant. So you have to finish your 4 years of undergrad. You take 2 years of master's, and within that master's program, you're supposed to do an internship at an accounting firm, get all those hours, and then you'll be eligible to apply to take the CPA exam. And I think it's a 2-part exam to get your CPA certification. I mean, same with med school, right? You do your MCAT, you use that score plus your 4-year undergrad transcript plus your extracurriculars, which is like I went to Honduras to do a medical camp, or I was a scribe, or I shadowed X amount of doctors at this hospital, and your personal essays like, I had a very revealing medical condition in my life that really changed me and inspired me to become a doctor. All the flowery stuff. and then you apply, right? And then you get into medical school. You have the USMLE Board 1, USMLE Board 2. Board 1, you write what, first or second year? No, for end of first year, beginning of second year, you write your Board 1. End of third year and beginning of fourth year, you write your Board 2, and then you get your residency placement. So there are a lot more standardized tests after you come out of undergrad. But that's all specialized stuff. And same board exams for law school. Post finishing law school, you have a couple of board exams you have to pass, and after that it's like year and year and year. But those are all like super high up there. But for this purposes.
But when you're going from college to the undergrad or
postgrad?
No.
12th
what I
through
meant from 12th. So in India, 10 to 12th in my state was college.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sorry for that.
That's fine. So
yeah. So if you are moving from high school to undergrad, is there an entrance exam?
Yes, that's called ACT, SAT. So the reason I'm saying both, SAT is more well known, it's more nationalized. ACT is picking up speed and coming there. I was in the Midwest. I lived in the Midwest when I was doing my high school and middle school. And in Iowa, ACT was way more popular. Colleges all over the country accept both ACT and SAT. I found ACTs to be easier than SATs, so I prefer to take ACTs more. But it is so just like how we write that public 12th exam, right? That's what determines which school you go to. For us, in addition to our grades, we have to write SAT and ACT.
Nice.
I think like COVID kind of gave leniency, but I don't think that requirement has gone away yet. Like just like how, I mean, for postgrad, GRE requirement has gone because they're like, okay, we understand GRE is not a very good indicator of what you learned in your 4 years, because some people come to do masters after they are done graduating and they worked in the field for like 4 years, and like you cannot expect people who worked for 4 years in a field to come and remember like, I don't care why I need to know why X plus Y is 25. Like, I will know, but like GRE has like those trigonometry questions and this like that. So the school's rationale was like, okay, we shouldn't put more emphasis on that. But that's not the case for undergrad. So you have to write SAT or ACT. The caveat, again, I don't know. I have to confirm it later with you after doing my research. When I was doing it, you can take ACTs X number of times. It's not like you have to take it once. Okay? So caveat. You can take it. So say you take it once. That's why the advisors in your high school ask you to start early. That's why they ask you to start writing those exams when in your 11th grade. When you start your 11th grade. That exam is offered once every 3 months or once every 2 months. So you take your exam once. You get the score. You like it, done. Keep it, apply it. You don't like it, you can take it again. You don't like it, you can take it again. But with the ACT, you say you take it 6 times, and the 6th time you got the score you wanted. Okay? You do not have to send in all the other 5
just
scores.
This one.
You just send in this one.
Wow.
So the colleges does not need to know how many times you took, because that also looks kind of bad on you, right? But SAT is not like that. You can take the SATs as many times as you want.
But history has to be shown.
History has to be shown. So that's why certain people prefer to take ACTs. And no, you don't have to take it X amount of times. There are copious amounts of practice books. There is like Sylvan Learning Center, Russian School of Math Learning Center, this learning center, that learning center. You go on Amazon, you're going to find pages and pages and pages of SAT writing practice, SAT English practice, SAT words. There are flashcards for SAT words. Like certain like precarious is an SAT word. Because I don't use precarious in my everyday life. I just call it tricky. I don't say finicky. I don't say precarious. I don't say exacerbated. Like those are all what we people, like we youngsters.
Those are essay words.
You said essay words, but people who have grown up here like me, we call it SAT words. I was like, we're like, oh, you're using all SAT words. Oh, you're smart. okay. But then we're like, don't pull your SAT words on us, okay? So like you have to study. Like schools do not necessarily prepare you. So like in India, there is a like 12th grade exam, right? You have revisions just for that exam. You have question paper, like the teacher goes through that question paper with you for those exams. So here in the schools, they don't take the practice book, sit with you. Like there isn't a class where it's like only SAT practice that is offered by the public school.
Got it.
I think private schools offer that. Private high schools, middle schools offer that. Public high schools, they will have after school classes. Certain teachers, certain schools will have after school programs, but it's not mandatory. You want to go, you'll go. And there is one more standardized test that I forgot about. It's called PSATs. Again, I don't remember the...
PSATs.
Yeah.
Okay.
So PSATs, they offer it in your 11th grade. You get a really good score on your PSATs, Ivy Leagues will be at your door. Yeah.
PSATs.
Yeah. And PSAT is only taken once. It's a hit or a miss. And again, you can choose to submit that score or not.
Got it.
So, like that one, you can choose if you want to submit or not. SAT, ACT, you have to submit. If you do really well in your PSATs, you don't even need to take SAT or ACT. Like you have some options.
Got it.
But yeah, so you have practice books that you can buy. Like I'm sure you have practice books for MCAT, you have practice books for GRE, like whatever, like NEET has practice books, right, in India. So same, you have practice books. So because these standardized tests cost money, they're not cheap. They're not unless you fall under a certain income level. Those are not subsidized by the school. Those are not subsidized by the state. So you have to pay out of pocket to take those exams.
And even the applications are costly, no?
Yeah. Again, applications are costly. Unless you're below a certain income level, you're not going to be subsidized, or the fees are not going to be waived. So yeah, applications are costly. Taking the SAT or ACT is costly. PSAT, I think it's free and it's offered by the school. But again, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, whoever is watching. But my memory is not serving me strong for the PSATs because I hate, it's like, I don't want to take it. It's like a whole day's worth of exam and stuff like that. I skipped. I told my dad, I was like, Dad, no, I'm already studying for SAT and ACT. He's like, okay, fine, whatever, your choice.
Cool. So, wow, that's interesting. So what you're saying is, once your high school is done, you will have to pay for the SATs or ACTs.
During your high school, yeah.
Sure. And then you also have to pay for applying to undergrad schools.
Oh yeah, you have a common app fee, and then you also have a secondary application fee.
What is secondary application?
Okay, so after you do all of that, right? So you got your SAT or ACT score, you have your statement of purpose. It has to be very good statement of purpose. People spend like 6 months.
I know.
Like people start from 11th grade to write that statement of purpose, because that is basically you selling yourself to the school. So, so you have your SAT, ACT, you have your statement of purpose, and then you have your recommendation people. So you talk to all the favorite teachers who you know that you're not on the bad side with. You have all of that. September, the year before you want to say you're going into 2024, 2023 September, right after Labor Day, Common App opens.
Okay.
To the point where when I was applying, the damn Common App crashed. Wow. Because everybody were like putting in their applications at that point. So Common App opens after Labor Day, and prior to getting there, you would have talked with your family. If you're an Indian kid or an Asian kid, of course, family would have been like, you're going to this school and you go to XYZ, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, E school. Okay, you'll have like a bucket load of list. If you're a normal kid, not Indian, not Asian, you would have made your own list from your help of your guidance counselor or from internet and whatever. So you have to be all prepared, right? And then Common App opens. You submit everything. It'll have a primary application fee for each school. Anywhere from, I think cost of inflation probably increased the prices of application fee for these guys. Right now, when I was applying, it was anywhere from $65 all the way to $100.
And you're talking about undergrad. And then again, post-grad, you have to do the same thing. Wow.
I did med school applications. It cost me $1,500 at the end. Yeah. And med school entrance exam is $365 just to take that damn MCAT.
So this has been a pretty long podcast. And there are a lot of topics which we haven't yet touched.
Yes.
And I hope that this part of our discussion has been quite insightful for the audience who have been listening to us. But what we'll do is that we'll continue the rest of the discussions in the next part coming soon. Okay? Till then, bye-bye.